Hello. Now, today we are going to be looking at the mathematics of groups. So we all know what a group is. Groups are just collections of people or collections of objects all together, and we bundle them together and we call them a group. And in maths, we're going to call those groups sets. And this leads us on to the very first point in maths. It has lots of funny words in it, and we're going to have to learn the funny words and know how to use them in order to solve problems. Now, there's a bunch of reasons why we have different words in maths, but mostly it's down to the fact we've been doing maths for a very long time and we've ended up with some funny words that we kept around. But we need to learn them and we need to know how to use them to solve problems. So maths is going to have funny words in it, and it's going to be about solving problems. So let's jump into our discussion of groups, which we're going to call sets in maths, and we're going to have a look at a few examples. So a set is defined as, we have a definition for our funny sounding word. A set is a well-defined group. Well, what does a well-defined group mean? It means we know exactly what are the members of that group. So let's have a look at a few examples. If we look at the natural numbers from 1 to 5, now we might not be sure what a natural number is yet, but we will be soon. So we're always going to be talking about this more stuff that we're going to learn in the future or linking back to what we've done in the past. So natural numbers are the whole numbers that we already know. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on up. So we have the natural numbers from 1 to 5. Well, what would that group look like if we wrote out all the members of that group? Well, in sets, we're going to always give a set a name, and this is the very first set we're talking about, so I'm going to call it A, and I'm always going to give my set name a capital letter. Just like we give people's names capital letters, we're going to give the set's names a capital letter, and I'm going to say equals, so the set A is our natural numbers from 1 to 5, and it is going to be equal to, it is going to be, I make a curly bracket, a squiggly bracket, and I'm going to write my members of my group. I'm going to write what I'll call later the elements of my set. So 1 is one of the members of my group, 2 is another whole number or natural number from 1 to 5, 3 is, 4 is, and 5 is. And then my group is finished, so I put another curly bracket on the end. So this is going to tell us a lot about how we're going to write out our sets. I'm going to give every set a name, and it's going to have a capital letter, just like a person's name. I'm going to put equals, because I'm now going to say what that set is. I'm going to make a squiggly bracket, a curly bracket, and then I'm going to list out each member of my group. Each element of my set is the way that we're going to talk about it in a few minutes. So we have each element of my set, each member of my group. I have a comma in between each element. And the reason for that is, if I didn't have that, what would happen? If I forgot the comma there, well, would that mean that my set A would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Or would it mean that I had a set that had 1, 2, 3, and 45? So I have to put in a comma in between each member of my group so that I know how I'm breaking up my group. So that's the general picture for how we're going to write our sets in mathematics. Let's have another look here. So we have the days of the week. Well, what would we call the days of the week? I'm going to call it capital D. And we can pick our own names for this so long as we make sure that they make sense and we use a capital letter. So we have a capital letter D for the days of the week. Well, what are the elements of that set? What are the members of that group? Well, I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now in maths, we're always going to be as lazy as we possibly can be. So I'm not going to write down the full names, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and so on. I'm going to write down letters instead. Well, a sensible name for Monday would be M. So that's one of the members of my group. And a sensible name for Tuesday would be T. But if I'm being clever, I know that there's a problem there. I need to call that TU, because I know that Thursday is going to be TH. Next I have Wednesday, which is fairly straightforward. Thursday, and I've sorted myself now. I have Tuesday is TU, so Thursday is going to be TH. Friday. Saturday, I have the same problem. What can I do? I can call that SA. And Sunday can be SU for Sunday. And then what do I do at the end of my set? I'm going to have another squiggly bracket. And now I have all the days of the week listed out, and I haven't had to do a huge amount of English writing. I've been able to write down an abbreviated version. So an abbreviation is where we shorten something. Now let's have a look at our next group. We have the letters in the word class. Well, this is nice. We can see all of the elements in our group. We don't have to think about it too much. So let's call that element C, or sorry, set C or group C. And I'm going to open up a curly bracket, and I'm going to write down, and the letters of the word class are going to be C, L, A, S. And I'm going to stop there. Now, why am I going to stop there? Because there's a rule in sets that we need to be aware of, that we only write the elements of a set once. So if I have class and I have two S's in the word, I'm only going to write down one S in my list of elements. Now, why do we do this? It is simply the convention. It's the normal way that we do it, and we need to all do the same thing in order to be able to agree with each other on the definitions of things. So this is simply the definition that we have in sets. We're only going to write down our elements once. So even if they appear more than once, we're going to only write them once. Now there's an important thing we can talk about here, because as well as only writing the elements once, we also don't actually mind what order we write the letters in. If we think about what we were told as a definition, the letters in the word class, we weren't told they had to be in the same order as they were. So let's see what we could do there. Let's just muddle them around a little bit. Wouldn't it still be the letters in the name, in the word class, if we wrote down S, C, L, and A? Does that still meet our description? The letters in the word class. Well, I have C, and I have L, and I have A, and I have S. So yes, that still has all of the letters in the word class. So that's also the set C. That's just another way of writing the set C. Now, we've looked at a bunch of times where we have an English definition of something and we've written it in mathematical language. But we're clever, we can go the other way as well. So if we have a set called L and we know that it's curly bracket A, comma B, comma C, close the curly bracket, well, what would that be in English? How would we write that in English? Well, there's a few different ways that we could do it, but the easiest is probably to say it's the first three letters of the alphabet. The first three letters of our alphabet. You could also say, and it would be just as true, that it's the first three words in the alphabet song, if you're familiar with the alphabet song. So long as your definition is correct, you will get full marks for it in an exam, and being creative with them is no problem. We like creativity in maths, and we're always going to try and be creative in maths. So that is our way of defining groups. But we can run into problems. I said at the beginning, a set is a well-defined group, and I said that's when we know exactly what should be in a group. But we can run into problems with some questions that we can be asked. For instance, if I asked you to make a set of all the tall people you know, what problem would we run into? Well, there's two issues with this definition. The first one is tall. For some people, if you're 5 foot tall, you're a very tall person. If you think back to when you were very young, if a person was 5 foot tall, they'd be a very tall person. As you get older, and you get it past 5 foot tall, you might end up feeling that at 5 foot tall is quite short. So we don't really know what tall means in this question. The other part of the problem is, you know. Does that mean everyone you've ever met? Or does that mean people who you know well, your family and friends? So this is not a well-defined group. We don't know what tall means, and we don't know what you know means. How well do I have to know this person before I'm able to include them in my group? So this is not a set. So we just say not a set. And that's okay. We'll come across lots of times in maths where we have to be careful and we have to say, well, I know my definitions and I understand what I'm doing, and I'm saying this is not part of what I am working on. This is not a set. So it's important to be able to recognize when we have a definition that we have the confidence to say this doesn't actually meet my requirements. This isn't included in the work we're doing at the moment, and we will have to have a discussion about that when we run into problems like that. So what we've done now is we've looked at our definition of a group, and now we're going to write out a few key characteristics that we've got for a set, a well-defined group. So we are back and we have sets, and we're going to talk about all of the things we've learned here. A set is well defined. We know exactly what the members of the group are. In our sets, we're going to list our members inside of our curly brackets, our squiggly brackets, with a comma in between each member. We're going to list each member only once, just like we did in class. We're going to, the order of our members does not matter, so the order or CLAS is considered the same, or the set is considered the same as SCLA. And we are going to give a name to all of our sets with a capital letter, just like if we were writing the name of a person. So we're going to use a capital letter, just like we did. A, D, C, and L are all capital letters, and they're the names of our sets. So we now know how it is we're going to define sets, and how it is we're going to write out the members of our group, the elements of our set. And now we are all sorted that we can start to solve problems with our sets.